If you feel a little bit lost, there's a lot of thoughts. What should I do? I need to do this. There's a whole bunch of things. Where do I get started? Not launching, not doing it. A lot of the times I sit in my thoughts for too long and I don't execute. My tip is to clean physically, because you get a bit of a workout, especially if you do it properly and you're doing it with a hustle and, trying to hold yourself to a time frame. 2, it's therapeutic because it helps you to think, but a bit more clearer, because you still feel like you're progressing. You're getting shit done. But also, it helps you to remove all the clutter. What you see around you, if cluttered, is exactly how it is up here. So how messy it is around you is how messy it is up here. And same this way as well, the opposite. How messy it is up here will also manifest itself in the physical. Well, if you can't clear this up, start with the physical. Start clearing out the areas, Organize things, get them into right places, and even get rid of stuff. A lot of the time we consume too much and have too much. We think that we don't have enough. A lot of times we have too much. That is a process, like you've got to do that often. It's not something that you do once and go, I cleaned out everything, because you're always upgrading, you're always updating. It's not a bad thing, it's growth, it's part of it, right? You're always adding new things, and usually you're adding new things to solve a problem or, fulfill a desire or whatever, right? But sometimes those things aren't as needed, useful to you in that future time. So in the future time, always take inventory of the things you do and don't need, and then go again. If you're not used to cleaning, because your wife cleans all the time, fucking clean cunt. You can't be an example to someone else, right? Cleaning, pick up some shit, bro, and start cleaning. Help your wife, because it will actually help your relationship, and it will help your family. You help your kids, because your kids see that, dad helps cooking, dad helps cleaning, and he goes to this thing called job, And then when they get a job, they will respect you even more. They will respect what you do for them even more. They will respect what you do and how you do it. They're no good to the world if you're not giving them the best examples that you can. Nothing's new under the sun, so none of this shit is stuff that you've never heard of. This is part of the other thing, right, with the whole parents being there. For those that, part of this channel is about not having a dad, not having a mum, or not having both. It's not about just physically being absent. It's about, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually being absent. And only you can know to yourself the truth of how your experience was. A lot of this channel is about that, okay? Filling that void, being the person that you needed when you were young, Being the person to the next person, all right? Don't carry on that cycle and being shit to your kids, right? Be amazing to your kids. Be amazing to your wife. Be amazing to your family. And actually build a family. Don't accept the idea of broken families being normal. It's become normal. And that's shit. It doesn't make for a good society. It doesn't make for a good country. It doesn't make for a good community. It just doesn't make any good, right? There's other sides to that coin, and people can argue for the other side and saying, yeah, but if my parents stayed together, shit would have been worse. Lucky they split up. It doesn't mean that it's about keeping relationships together that shouldn't be, if they're toxic and they don't really get along, whatever it is. But I'd say this is to argue another point. And I believe a lot of old school couples would kind of support this argument. You got to learn to be resilient, and you got to learn to work through things, not give up. The grass is always greener, so no one's perfect. Everyone has their flaws, and your partner and yourself are not perfect. Your partnership won't be perfect. No partnership is. Your relationships and your growth won't be a perfect ride as well, So you got to work through the challenges, work through the hard times, because that builds resilience. You're not always going to have up moments. Life's not meant to be that way. We're meant to have death, and that's part of life, Things, all good things go to, the next part, the next phase. All good things come to an end, right? And simply because we wouldn't value those things. It's just like death, Actually, I'll segue there. So, just the past week, we had one of our staff at work pass away. Whether you're close to the person or not, that's not the lesson. That's not the point. Right? That's not the key part of hearing that information. It's really for a reminder of, take an inventory of your own life. Since you're still alive, right? Since you're one of the ones still here, available to do things in this life, right? That person isn't. So you're gonna take it for granted, or you're gonna do something about it, So since I'm still alive, I'm trying my ass off to figure out the best way to give my family and myself the best life. I'm talking about holistically, right? It's not about just money, okay? It's not about just hustling to make that money, right? Because money isn't everything. And that's not a cop-out because I don't have millions in my bank account right now. That's definitely not the case, because I'm still in the hustle. And I'm never going to stop until I make it. But I've realized now, because I've been hustling for many, many years now. In one project alone, I kept it going at least for 10 years. 10 years, man, it's a fucking long time, right? It's a long time out of my life, a long time out of my wife's life, which is why I'll always be there to support and help her and be with her forever and go through the hard times, because she's supported me too throughout that process. Now, it can easily be seen as like a waste of time, 10 years, but I personally wanted to commit myself, and I told myself from the beginning, I'm gonna do 10 years and put my heart into it. And after that 10 years, I didn't say I was gonna give up. I said I'm gonna reassess and go from there. But I will definitely close down that project, and I did. Okay, so I kept to my word, and I have kept to my word the whole way, and I haven't stopped. Okay, but I'm kind of glad I did. Even though the other part of me says I could have done it much smarter and sooner, compressed that all in a much smaller time frame. But I can only say that now, in the future, which is today, because I know more. And so there's a lot of the nuances that have built the wisdom that I have now about people, about myself, about the world, about the tax system, about the systems in general. We had covered in the last 5 years, so there was a lot there, and a lot of people like to just sidetrack there and whatever. That's in the past now. To go no. That was a special era. That was a special time in all of our history, in our lives, right? And I find every time I mention it to people, I've spoken to a lot of people about it, especially because I come from Melbourne. I'm now in Brisbane. And a lot of the guys, when they hear it, oh man, you guys had, you had the lockdown really bad. Yeah, fucking oath. And I'll get into my side of things, about how I interpret everything. This channel's not meant to be about conspiracy talk, and I hate that word, because every time you mention it, it kind of like detaches you from any credibility of, anything you're gonna say is gonna be all like, oh, garbage, you're anti-science. It's actually quite the opposite. When you use your brain and you actually study it, you look into the science, the real science, then you really know, right? What was I kind of getting at sidetrack? Put me in that sidetrack. Those things are all relevant. I'm always going to go a few ways with certain topics, because keyword is holistic, right? The bulk of this channel is about approaching success, the ideas of success, holistically. So this YouTube channel, right, is called, I actually called it a different name, right? It was called The Father I Never Had. And most people I mention that to, it resonates, it sounds good when I explain to them what I was going to do, right? And here I am. I still love the name, but I'm naming the channel now. Don't hold me to it, because I might change it, right? But at this point in time, the name of the channel is... Okay, so... Bye-bye, butterfly. Te quiero. Love you.
Okay, good.
All right.
Bye, Manel.
Can you hurry? Okay. What was I talking about before the kiddos bloody jumped into the video? So this YouTube channel I'm now calling Rich Dad, No Dad. And so the idea obviously comes from the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I've got to reach out to Robert Kiyosaki and just ask for permission rights, right? Having a poor mindset versus a rich mindset. And most people have a poor mindset. So that's what the book is really about, having the right mindset to achieve financial success. Read the book. It's a very good book. It's not the be-all end-all, and all books are not the be-all end-all. Accumulation of all the books that you want will help you, guide you. At the end of the day, you need to do. You need to do stuff, practice stuff, and that will reveal what books and what things that you read becomes real wisdom and not. Anyways, so this YouTube channel is actually called Rich Dad, No Dad, obviously to latch on to the success of that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The purpose of this YouTube channel is to look at it holistically, back to that part of the discussion, right? Holistically. So where Robert hones in on financial success and financial literacy, to be more specific, because the success comes from the correcting your illiteracy, right, financially. For this channel is to approach your life the same way, all right? Instead of just focusing and honing in on just your wealth, is looking at the key word is health, all right? And with health as the umbrella title, all the other ones, including wealth, falls under health. You know, how healthy are your finances? How healthy is your physical body? How healthy are your relationships with your kids and your wife? How healthy, you know, is your mind? You know, how healthy is your home? You know, so it's really about the holistic side to your success. So I'm hoping that, you know, looking at the word health and, you know, focusing on the idea of success, you know, because what is success? It's subjective to, you know, it's subjective, right? What makes you feel successful may not be suffice for another person to feel successful. All right, I'm going to open up some lights a little bit more, just a little bit. Okay. All these topics, you know, will be mentioned throughout this channel in several different ways, through examples. So obviously you'll get to see a little bit of me helping my kids with certain things, excuse me. And there's lessons there being learned, you know. At the end of the day, if I'm putting this out there, and my kids will be the product of what I'm sharing here. And if it doesn't work, you'll see it, because the kids, you know, aren't being successful themselves, you know. And so I'll hold myself accountable 100% with that. But I've had a lot of people, not a lot of people, I know there are a bunch of people that admire the way, just through the things that they say, right? And throughout the years that really admire the way our kids are. And it's not to say that our kids are really good, or your kids are good, or it's a different way they're saying. They're not just saying they're good, as in they're good kids and they listen. Because sometimes they don't listen, right? They're not perfect, but and they're not like super successful athletes or anything like that. That, you know, but they're up and coming. They're doing well. They're above average with you know, with their successes in schooling and in sports. They rank really high, you know, in a lot of things. And I do believe it comes from our home environment, the mixture of me and my wife Tanya, the way we've kind of worked through the challenges of figuring out how we're gonna roll. It's not even a case of just sitting together and go, oh, how are we gonna do this? How are we gonna raise our kids? Because fuck no, we didn't sit down and have that conversation, you know? We've had conversations along the way similar, but it's not like we broke it down from the start and said, all right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna go to church. No, we're not gonna go to church. Oh, we're gonna change Muslim. Are we gonna, you know, are we gonna do this? Are we gonna go to Kumon? We're gonna, you know, what's our education for our kids? How are we gonna bring them up? What kind of environment do we want them in? You know, what kind of belief systems do we want to instill in them? What the fuck do we believe ourselves? I believe in this, you believe that. We're conflicting here. How the fuck do we? It's a shit show, right? And so, what I think we do well is we communicate, number one. Because, and when I talk about communication, it's working through it, because you're not the best communicator, neither is your partner, and you're just learning. You have to understand that you're learning. Even though you are like a teacher to people around you, especially your kids, you are a learner. You're always a learner. Everyone is a learner. Okay, so just be understanding that you are learning. And remember that you were given less guide. This is not a YouTube channel for those who have had good guides in their life. If you like to take some stuff from here and you like the way the content here on this channel, by all means, support, share it. If it helps you for little nuances, then awesome. But having your parents there and guiding you and being good people, that not that my parents were bad or anything, but just being there, just being there, right? And you know what I mean. I'll say it fucking 3 times, right? Just literally being there, not just physically. Being there, right? Having that connection to your kids so that they don't stray, they don't just go the wrong ways, right? So just remind yourself that you didn't have it easy, all right? And it's not just about money, right? Money is not the real problem here. It's all the rest of the programming, including the money side of the programming, but it's all the other parts of the your upbringing, the trauma of the upbringing, that really has a void in all of these areas, that you just don't have the right approach to things. And if you don't have the right approach to things, you can almost not be successful. You can probably have instances. I've had little instances of success. I was in the top, this is not to blow me up at all. I fucking know, for a long time. I made the top 40 in the first 2 seasons of So You Think You Can Dance, right? For those that do remember it, but in Australia, right? And that's no small feat. That's the top 40 dancers in Australia. And I could have been in the top 20, but obviously that was never to be. That wasn't my path, right? That to me was success. People would have looked at me and said, "Fai, so successful." And for a long time, I had a lot of people riding on that success because they thought it was awesome. It was groundbreaking. And for a lot of people, it was groundbreaking. The people in my community, like the locals, the people that I knew, grew up with, it was... it was awesome. It was a beautiful thing. And I've got to be proud of that success, because it was a successful thing that I've done. But overall, that one moment or that part of my life is not success. I can't just say that, yeah, I'm successful now because of that one moment. Everyone thinks of success differently, but I feel like the key part is to understand that your success is the word itself is predicated on all facets of your life. You won't feel successful if everything around you is shit, but then you have just money. Now, you can probably remove yourself from that shit because you got a lot of money, but it's not a complete life, at least, if you just have awesome money and nothing else in your life is awesome, right? So here I am trying to do my best to share what I've learned, and because of the hardships that I grew up with, and still have challenges that, a lot of people probably won't be able to handle, right? Having a child with special needs, it's very challenging, right? And also say it's the worst thing, I always like to remind myself there's always someone worse off. There's a lot of people worse off, right? I'm living the best life compared to some of these people, so I really feel for them, right? But you can only control your life. You can only control what you can do, and you can influence. You can't control. You're not there to control. These little beings, your kids, they're not for you to control. They're for you to guide. They're for you to be a good example, right? You're their first person that they're going to look up to, right? So you be the best person you can, and you're going to make sure that they have a complete understanding of the challenges of the world, right? And to just really learn about themselves and what they really want, who they really want to be, right? And understand their flaws. If you show that as well, they will see that as well and learn from it, right? If they see that, oh, Daddy, yes, he knows a lot of things, but he when he doesn't, he admits it, or he gives up and goes, oh, fuck, I don't know. And, but he works through it and he tries to learn all these new things or whatever, just be a learner. Be a learner. This will take some time because building something that's holistic, it's a lot of detail. It's a lot of information for you to, I've got to make it exciting for you to kind of, receive this information, because it can get boring, right? You're not here to just to hear someone just talk, right? You're seeking something. When we're all watching people, watching other people's YouTube channels and content, yes, there's a part of us that wants to be entertained. And that's the part that I want you to have control of. Have control and discipline over your entertainment side of you. And start to look for wisdom, real powerful knowledge that will, with some clear actions and examples that you can easily implement in your life and make it impactful in your life, so that you can get closer to your potential for yourself and your family, right? So that you can also be financially successful, so that you can be successful, feel successful, right? Be happier, right? You will see in the videos, I don't have it financially, I'm not financially successful according to a lot of people. I earn a decent income. I've had some successes through past businesses, right? That and one of them could scale really, really well, right? And I'll talk about a lot of those lessons in other videos, but that's why I can speak on these things, because I've been through the trenches. I've gone through the hard times, I've learned the long way and the hard way. So here I am, sharing that information, hoping that it will be of good use to you. All right. Anyways, I'll leave it at that and move on to the next thing. Hopefully you're well. Have a good day. Catch up soon.